Hey, welcome back to the Life Coach Launchpad. My name's BJ, and I'm here every week talking to you about all the online business things that, as it turns out, need to happen in order to have a successful life coaching business. I'm a business coach. I love to help life coaches make more money, get more clients, have more fun, and to do what they love to do, what they're meant to do, and that's coaching. So, let's dive right in. All right, today I'm talking about one of the very first things that you need to be doing in order to be inciting demand, and in order to be creating demand for whatever you are offering, whether that's individual coaching, group coaching, if it's a course, if it's a retreat, in person, virtual, whatever it is, you need to be creating content. And why are we creating content? And the answer is what I just said, is that consistent content creation is key. It is key to creating more demand for all of your offers. So I often talk about going from offering individual coaching to group coaching, but content is going to be key for anything that you're offering. So I wanted to talk about where we're at in this customer journey from someone being first introduced to you to eventually they will become a buyer. They'll become a client, a customer. When we're talking about creating content, it's used up and down the customer journey. Up, I mean more early on when someone is first being introduced to you. Someone might be introduced to you in a social post, podcast, YouTube, blog post, whatever type of content you're creating. Also, they could be coming from someone else's audience, from a guest podcast on their podcast, or they were introduced to you through their email list. And by the way, I am doing a presentation. I have some slides here that are great examples of what I'm talking about. And you can see them on YouTube or on the show notes page. If you're listening to the podcast, you don't have to be watching the slides, but they might help understanding of the material just a little bit better. Also, content is used when someone has already been introduced to you. There is kind of an ongoing cycle of emailed content. Once you get someone's email address, what do you do with it? You are sending them content to develop that relationship between you and them. And that could take the form of an email newsletter, it's your latest podcast, your latest video, a new course that you're offering, or other new offer. So content turns up over and over again. So why are we creating content? It's to develop a relationship. And I think about it twofold. One is for people new to you, and people are also seeing your content who are already familiar with you through a lot of the same channels, but what they're getting from you is a little bit different. When someone is new, you are just introducing yourself. People are I say people, but these are your potential clients. They're learning how you help, how you can help them. Who you help, do they fall into that category? If a potential client is already familiar with you, then they are taking the relationship to the next level. They are feeling your vibes. A potential client is evaluating you if they can work with you. That's what they're trying to understand. As they do that, they're learning about your offers. Just them seeing your face, seeing your word, you are establishing a connection with them. You are beginning and furthering a relationship. Your potential clients are learning to trust you. If you've ever heard of the know, like, and trust factor, that is what's happening. So, what content should you be creating? I'm going to go over a few best practices. There are 4 strategies I'm about to go over, but in the end, you get to choose. If you don't know what to do exactly what I'm saying. If you already have a pretty good idea, do that. Maybe take a little bit of advice and then also just keep moving. As long as you're creating content, you are going to be getting better. So where do these strategies work? Am I talking about social, video, podcast? What am I talking about? These 4 strategies are for creating content that goes out on all your marketing channels. That's social, podcast, YouTube, emails, it is everything. So here is strategy number 1, and it is content repurposing. This is crucial because it makes the flow of creating content so much easier. When you think about having to do a podcast or a video, I usually think of doing a long form content. And then if you also have to create social posts and emails that go along with that, when you add it up over how much you want to do every week, it can sound like a lot. But with content repurposing, you're coming up with the ideas that go into one longer piece, and then you can just take bits and pieces of that, and that goes into the smaller pieces, the smaller bits of content, snippets. So why are we doing that? Is because it's easier and it's still great content because the goal is that people are trying to understand what you're about. And that is and that it was going to get across in this strategy of content repurposing. Strategy number 2 is try different styles. What works best? I can't tell you that. Many online experts are going to tell you exactly what to do, but only your audience can tell you what works best for them, what they find most useful. So I have some examples here. You should try video snippets. Like they could just be like if you're putting out a YouTube video every week, or like what I do is I record myself doing my podcast. So I have that long video and I take a short piece of it and that goes out onto social media. Audiograms are great for social, that it's a snippet of audio from a longer piece of content. And there are kind of easier ways of turning it into like you'll see a waveform or something that moves along with the sound. Quote cards, if you take your long form piece of content and you take a quote from it. Boom, there's your quote card. And there's a lot of templates out there that are available. B-roll videos with message overlay. This is what you're going to hear over and over. And it's what you see over and over, especially on Instagram, that you take a B-roll, which B-roll means generally you're not looking at the camera, you're doing something else. And then there's a message overlay. There are words overlaid onto it that can be done inside of Instagram, inside of Facebook, or it can be done in a third-party video editor. But that is what is popular right now. The reason why I'm not putting this first is because a lot of times this is extra footage that you have to take. So I am all about using what you have. And if you have this, great. If you don't have this, it's optional. Just normal pictures from your personal life, that is a way of shaking up the normal feed that your potential client is going to see. Your potential client, they might see your name and they might expect like a very businessy, or I can't say what they're expecting from you. But when you put something different, it is more likely to get them to stop scrolling and read the description. You could include a video from an unusual location, just something, again, something that they don't expect. And formal versus informal, if it's you, like for me, I'm at my stand-up desk. Like for me, I'm at my stand-up desk. You're very used to seeing videos of me in this situation. If I wanted to get your attention, I would do a video of me somewhere else. Strategy number 3 is never start from scratch. In other words, always have a pile of ideas. And there's a couple ways to get there. One is to complete a brainstorming exercise. This is the most common one is a mind map. So mind map is you write down the core principle that you are all about with a little circle around it, and then you write the subcategories of like the things that you are all about. Like, sorry, write 5 or 6 different categories of things that you talk about and that you coach on. Put a little branch and then goes to that word with a circle around that. You got 4 or 6 branches around there. And then for each of those categories, you're putting subcategories of that. And you do that until is probably just once or twice, however many times it makes sense for you. And then for each of the subcategories, you can have tips and tricks, personal stories, client success stories, questions and answers, visual content, whatever makes sense for that. You do that exercise once, it'll take you about 30 minutes, and you will have content for a year, for sure. Another way is to do more topics that are more timely, more relevant to what's going on in your day-to-day life. just take notes throughout the week. This is what I do because I find that it's easier to write about things that are fresher in my mind. So I always have a list of topics that I'm working on that I can easily talk about because they're very fresh in my mind. Like I said, never start from scratch. And what should immediately come to your mind is using an AI tool like ChatGPT or Gemini from Google or whichever one you're using. You can tell it to write 50 social media prompts for insert your type of life coach or your topic. And there are, it gets the conversation going for you, gets the juices flowing. So having all those ideas is only half of the plan. Right now, it's more of a dream. To make it a plan, you have to schedule it. There should never be a question as to when and what you are going to create. I think about this in two different ways. One is like what part of the week are you going to be doing your content creation work? Because if you don't have it scheduled on your calendar at some repeating frequency, or I don't know how it has to get onto your calendar somehow, otherwise it won't happen. Otherwise it's just a dream. Scheduling it is what makes it a plan. Now, in terms of what you're going to be writing about, I think about this in two different ways. One is option one it's what's on the slide deck here is that you have a content calendar that says this week or this day, I'm going to write about this topic, and it's going to be this style, whether it's a video or audio or a link to whatever it is, link to a blog post. And the next week, it's going to be about this next thing. So that when you sit down during your regularly scheduled content creation time, boom, that is what you're writing about. Your other option is what I did with the client where we were instilling demand for her moving from individual coaching to group, and this works perfectly for her. Each week of the month, we had a certain topic and a type of content. The beauty of this is that she had so many ideas swirling around, but we started to see some patterns. And we wanted to get to all of them, so we would do 1, 2, 3, 4, and then repeat. For example, week 1 was recapping what she had in her podcast, so that information would go out into social, it would go out into her email, there would be an image associated with it. Week 2 was an informal video. In addition to her normal podcast, she did have to go create a video in somewhere else. So for her, what she often chose to do was she liked to walk in the woods, and she would go take a video of her in the woods doing something that she was already doing. She just had to plan ahead to know that she was going to do that video. Week 3, again, the podcast recap, but with a different type of visual. It was with the audiogram, not with an image. And week 4 was with a formal videos. Often it was her recording, her doing her podcast. She had the video ready to go, doing something, an activity that she was already planning on doing. So this strategy potentially is the most important. It is not the one that most people think about, but you have to schedule when and what you're going to be doing. If you create content, your ideal clients will find you. That is why we're doing this. I know you did not become a coach in order to become a YouTuber, podcaster, blogger, whatever. And these strategies will make it easier to do those things so that you become more in the flow, but you still have to do them. If you're looking for more help, more support on creating all the content that you have in your brain, but you want to get out into the internet, you can set up a free mini session with me, or you can send me an email. The mini session you schedule on my website. Email address is bj@bjbutler.com. You have to remember that all of these tactics, all of these strategies that I'm going through here are what I learned when I was bringing a client through this process. We were creating so much demand in her individual coaching so that she can move to group coaching. She knew that's what she wanted to do, but in order to do that, we also had to make sure there was enough people coming into her pipeline. So this is the process that we went through, and if you need any help with it, you can let me know.